Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, I'm bringing you guys my 2021 bounce back players for fantasy football. In this video, I'm going to be discussing players that I dub as bounce back candidates because they did not have the greatest 2020 fantasy football seasons, whether that was due to injury or due to just poor performance in 2020. I believe all of these guys will bounce back and be back to where a lot of people thought these guys would be last season when they ended up drafting them. A lot of these guys are high draft picks or players that were perceived to be elite or bordering on becoming elite in fantasy football. So in this video, we're just going to be talking about a bunch of these guys. We're going to be talking about some running backs, some wide receivers, a quarterback, as well as a tight end. So if you guys do end up enjoying my 2021 bounce back players for fantasy football, please make sure you hit that subscribe button if you are new. I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 fantasy football league, as well as talk about the 2021 NFL draft. I would also like to let you guys know that if you are subscribed, or maybe even if you're not subscribed, please make sure to hit that like button for me. It really helps me out, and it's going to help other people get their eyeballs on this video so that they can have a fun time with us today. I hope you guys are having a great Thursday morning or afternoon or a great whatever day when you're watching this. So thank you guys very much for watching this video. So let's get into it. We'll begin with a running back that many people were touting as having top 10 potential at the running back position, as well as being drafted in the first round. So people were seeing this guy might have the potential to break through, to be soaring, to be flying as a potential top 5 running back, and that is Miles Sanders, running back of the Philadelphia Eagles. Since he was drafted as a first-round pick in the majority of leagues and looked at as one of those big players at the running back position, finishing as running back 23 in PPR and half PPR, and running back 21 in standard leagues, playing in 12 games, he was quite the disappointment. He averaged 14.1 PPR points per game, 13 half PPR points per game, and 11.9 standard points per game. So when he was in, he was playing pretty solid, but something I want to talk about later is the difference with Miles Sanders and Carson Wentz versus the difference with Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts. In Sanders' 12 games, he had 164 carries, 13.7 per game, ranking 21st at the running back position for 871 rushing yards, 72.6 per game, ranking 14th at running back. He also had 28 catches on the season, 30th at running back, on 52 targets, 16th at running back, for 197 receiving yards, 32nd at running back, plus 6 touchdowns on the season, ranking 25th at running back. Sadly, though, he did end up having 8 drops, which is 15.4% of the time this man was throwing the ball. He ended up fumbling the bag and dropping it. So that's not very good because that's ranked second highest at the running back position. So not very good at all. He also only saw 44.6% of the team snaps, as his teammate and backup running back Boston Scott saw 37.57% of snaps. Now, you can kind of assume that that number may have been slightly skewed by the fact that Miles Sanders did miss a couple of games, but even when Miles Sanders was healthy, Boston Scott was sniffing up behind him, potentially trying to take that starting spot, which was something I was very worried about in last offseason. If you guys have been watching my channel since last year, I was one of those guys that wasn't necessarily the highest on Miles Sanders. I thought he was going to be a solid running back, but I just did not see the boom upside due to the fact that Doug Peterson loves that running back by committee. He will live and die by it. And that's kind of what we saw a little bit. But now they bring in a new head coach, so hopefully that narrative is completely thrown out of the window, and we won't see Boston Scott or any running back behind him as much in 2021. Now we are going to be talking about what I brought up slightly, or a bit before I should say, with Miles Sanders, with Hurts, versus with Carson Wentz. In the 9 games with Carson Wentz, this man was averaging 12.54 half PPR points per game, versus when Mr. Jalen Hurts was starting, 17.97 half PPR points per game. In PPR, with Hurts, 19.47 versus 13.6 with Carson Wentz. You can see a pattern here. He played a lot better with Jalen Hurts, 16.47 standard points versus 11.49 with Carson Wentz. So what I want to talk about is this is because Carson Wentz is a rice-a-roni fucking jabroni, as they would say, when it comes to dumping the ball off. Just doesn't do it as much as a guy like Jalen Hurts will do. Now, the numbers don't necessarily tell you that, but Carson Wentz does look a little bit scared when trying to do that. They do have the same amount of targets per game, though, with Wentz and with Jalen Hurts, which may kind of dismember my take that I just had. But in my opinion, when I saw Wentz out there, it just did not look like he was looking to dump it off as much, with 4.33 targets per game with both Wentz as well as with Jalen Hurts. But those passes were clearly more accurate. 3 receptions per game with Mr. Hurts versus 2.11 with Carson Wentz. This obviously added to more receiving yards per game, 24.67 with Hurts versus 13.67 with Carson, and then 15.33 rushes with Hurts, 13.11 without, 1 rushing touchdown per game with Hurts versus 0.44 without. Obviously, that's a number that is skewed. I highly doubt Sanders is going to rush 16 touchdowns next year. Those are elite numbers at the running back position, but obviously it might be possible. He also had 70 rush yards a game with Wentz versus 80 with Mr. Jalen Hurts. So we see a big difference here with Jalen Hurts under center. Miles Sanders was having a fucking feast Thanksgiving-esque behind the line. And with this new coaching, and then potentially looking to really widen the horizon of Miles Sanders and make Miles Sanders amazing, I am all bought in on Miles Sanders this season, and I really think that this is a very easy call to bounce back in 2021. Next up, we're going with this teammate who is no longer his teammate, Carson Wentz, quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts. Carson Wentz's season in Philadelphia was a fucking roller coaster. There's ups, there's downs, and the season ended with a explosion like you were watching Jackass or something. I don't even think there's explosions in Jackass, but that's just the first thing that came to my mind. It was bad because Wentz was so down tremendous that he needed to get traded. This motherfucker went from MVP chants in the stadium like he's LeBron or Giannis to going to being booed out of Philadelphia. If there were fucking a zillion fans at these games, I'm thinking someone would have jumped onto the field and beat Carson Wentz to a pulp because it seemed like all of Philly hated Wentz. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Carson Wentz, but his team did him no service. Okay? The offensive line was down bad. 29th ranked in protection rate via player profiler, as well as having the 28th ranked supporting cast efficiency rating. That's not good. His receivers were absolutely terrible. Okay? And he finished his quarterback 22 and 12 games, averaging 16.5 points per game. Wentz threw the rock 438 times, which is 36.5 per game, ranking 21st at quarterback for a grand total of 2,616 passing yards, ranking 25th at quarterback. But where it gets really bad is Wentz throwing 16 touchdowns, ranking 20th at quarterback at a 30.7 rate. Now, the average rate for passing touchdowns for a quarterback is the number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you're below that, when you're at a 3.7, you will assume the number will go up the next season. But this man was on his Jameis Winston because he threw 16 touchdowns and threw 15 INTs, and he had 30 interceptable passes in 2020, ranking 2nd at quarterback. That's not very good at all. But you have to blame the surrounding cast. You have to blame the confusion. Probably smelt fucking Hurts sniffing up his ass, thinking that Hurts is going to take my job. Now he's in a mental pretzel, doing all this mental gymnastics, and he lost to Hurts. Hurts ultimately beat him off like his name was Riley Reid, and then they ended up leaving and going to Indianapolis. The Eagles ranked 11th in passing percentage in 2020, and Indianapolis Colts ranked 17th. So you might be thinking, oh no, Nick, this has debunked everything. It won't. It won't. Because the Colts system is more effective for Carson Wentz. The wide receivers are better. The running back, Jonathan Taylor, to me is better than Miles Sanders, but not something completely different. But the offensive line is much better. So Carson Wentz is going into his fucking final form like he's in Dragon Ball Z type of deal here. The Ginger Man, Carson Wentz, is going to bounce back in 2021. I'm not saying that this guy is going to be a top 5 quarterback or something, but he should be top 12, and if all things go correct, he probably has top 6 potential, if I'm being completely honest with you. If the Colts are as good as they were last year with Phillip Rivers, as long as Wentz can obviously control that arm and not throw 15 fucking picks again. So, Now we are on to the next player. If you guys have ended up enjoying, we're about 10 minutes-ish into this video, so make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button down below. I would really appreciate it. So next player up here on the board is Austin Ekeler, running back of the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, just like with Miles Sanders, who we talked about a little bit earlier, this man had high expectations, and I was the fucking conductor. The goddamn conductor, choo-choo, of the Austin Ekeler fan club, the Austin Ekeler train. I was ready to run through a wall for this man. I was ready to die for this man. I loved Austin Ekeler, a.k.a. Mr. Clean, the bald man, okay? I thought he was going to eat, but the only thing he ate was hospital food because this motherfucker got hurt, okay? He ranked 26th at running back in PPR, 29th in half PPR, and 35th in standard. The hype train was really brought apart by myself and many others because of his 2019 season with and without Melvin Gordon. Without Melvin Gordon, this guy was bitch-slapping defenses like Key and Peele, front hand, backhand. And then when Gordon left, went to Denver, you're thinking, oh man, not again. This is going to be amazing. My pants were soiled. I was thinking that this was a straight-up rocket ship to Uranus with Austin Ekeler, all right? But it wasn't. Because he hurt his hammy week 4, missed 6 games, and that just completely derailed the season. He had 116 carries, ranking 39th at running back, for 530 rushing yards, ranking 35th at running back. But with Austin Ekeler, this man gets his bread and butter, his Thanksgiving dinner in the receiving game. Because he had 54 catches. Again, didn't play the whole season, missed 6 games. 5th highest at running back. 65 targets, 8th highest at running back. For 403 receiving yards, 5th highest at running back. Top 10 in all receiving categories, top 5 in a majority of them. I think that we are going to see a revitalization of what we saw of Ekeler in 2019 as long as he can stay healthy. Ekeler was also in a bad situation. He only scored 3 touchdowns, but the bad situation was week 1 when Tyrod Taylor was under center. I thought it was such a slam dunk. Like when we saw Dwayne Wade on the Heat fucking throw the ball to LeBron and he yams that in there, okay? That's what I thought this was going to be. Tyrod just dumps it off, okay? But instead, Tyrod couldn't do that. And then he got fucking stabbed by the doctor. And when Justin Herbert, the pervert, came in, we saw a change in Ekeler. He got better. Why? Because they were actually giving him the ball. What a hard concept. And now the Chargers have gotten rid of one of the worst head coaches in the NFL in Anthony Lynn. Adam Gase is probably worse, but Anthony Lynn was also a fucking bozo, okay? And I think we're going to see a really safe season out of Austin Ekeler with a whole lot of upside in 2021. But obviously, there is some noise that I can hear about Austin Ekeler potentially getting cucked by them bringing in another running back, which would be very sad. In my opinion, he'd still be a fine running back, but I don't think he would have like the top 10 potential that I think he does have if it is just Austin Ekeler, as well as obviously there's going to be guys behind him that are going to get touches, but like Joshua Kelly, but Austin Ekeler is going to be the main guy in that backfield as long as they don't bring anyone in. Next player up here is Deebo Samuel. Now this guy's hype train people were rock hard for Deebo Samuel, but that train fell off the fucking tracks in the preseason. There wasn't even preseason, but there was no real preseason, but in technical preseason when they're doing all these practices and stuff, he gets hurt. No bueno, as they say. He had to have Jones fracture repair surgery, take away 10 to 12 weeks of his offseason. And he missed the first 3 games of the season. And then later, this man hurt his hammy to miss 6 games. So that's a combined missed 9 games on the season, which is not very good. He only played 7 games. So how can you really expect him to have an excellent season? He also was missing his quarterback. Jimmy G was gone. We're seeing C.J. Beathard. We're seeing the other guy whose name's escaping my head. It was just bad. And then Brandon Ayuk is just a monster in this time. So like Eminem said in that one song, people's knees were weak, arms are heavy, mom's spaghetti was ready. Because this is looking bad. It's looking like Brandon Ayuk has stolen Deebo's job. Like, Deebo dominated in 2019, if you guys remember, in his rookie season. And then everyone's thinking, oh, man, we got fucked by Brandon Ayuk. But when they were both playing good when they were healthy. There is an issue, though, and that's Jimmy G, because we don't know who the fuck the starting quarterback is going to be of the 49ers in 2021. There's news that Jimmy G is going to be a Patriot. There's news that Jimmy G is going to all these other teams. I've heard a couple of teams out there that they're talking about Jimmy G. Will he be the starting quarterback of the 49ers? Let me know down below in the comments. To be honest with you, I don't think so. But to me, there's also reason to believe that he will be. So, probably doesn't even matter who the quarterback is, though. Let's be honest. He was fucking balling with CJ Beathard. So, Ayuk balling and Deebo were balling at the exact same time. Week 6 against Jalen Ramsey. This man put on his Chef Ramsey hat and cooked this motherfucker up. He put up 6 receptions on 6 targets for 66 yards. 666. Shout out to Drake, not the devil, and 1 touchdown, finishing as the 14th best wide receiver on the week against Jalen fucking Ramsey. And then another game he did good. Guess which one that was? It was up against the Rams again, but the Jalen Ramsey was scared. He ran away, cowered in the corner. They put Troy Hill up against him. This man had 13 targets for 11 catches, 133 yards in Week 12, and the 7th highest fantasy points on the week. So it is clear that even if Brandon Ayuk's having a good season, Deebo can as well. They like to run the ball, but they're still going to be able to pass it to Deebo, to Ayuk. You want to know who else they're going to be passing it to? My final bounce-back player, George Kittle me Timbers, tight end of the San Francisco 49ers. Now, just like with Deebo, George Kittle had a bit of the injury bug in 2020, making him fall out of the top 15, making him fall out of the top 2 that you drafted him as. Many people in the offseason had this debate. Is it Kittle? Or is it Kelsey, number 1 tight end? Well, Kittle didn't really get much of a chance because the motherfucker got hurt. But maybe now people say Waller's better than Kittle. Again, I'm not trying to get into an argument like that. I'm just thinking George Kittle is obviously going to bounce back. This is very clear. Played in 8 games in 2020, had 63 targets, 19th at tight end. Only playing in not every game. 7.9 targets per game. He's like a wide receiver. 48 receptions, 6.0 per game. Again, very high, like a wide receiver. For 634 receiving yards, 9th at tight end. 9th most receiving yards, and he didn't even play the whole fucking season. But he only scored 2 touchdowns, which is weird for Kittle, and I expect that number to go up. So this one was a really easy call. George Kittle, one of the best tight ends in the NFL, has a down season due to injury. His stock is going to fly back up because he's going to play good again in 2021, and he will probably be a top 2-round pick. This one was more of a layup, I know. But there wasn't really any bounce-back tight ends to talk about besides George Kittle me Timbers. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you had a great time, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I hope you did. I love you all, and I'll see you beautiful bastards tomorrow morning with another banger of a video. As always, guys, stay safe, and have a great rest of your guys' day. I love you guys. Goodbye.